darling. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 37, 61 overall of MJ Radio, the one and only podcast in Spanish that communicates and discusses Michael Jackson's news, life, and career. Today, we have the honor to have Bill Whitfield join us for this episode, a former cop, head of security for Michael Jackson from December 2006 to 2009, and co-author of the book Remember the Time, Protecting Michael Jackson in His Final Days. As an expert in the field of private protection, he has had the opportunity to work for a great deal of high-profile clients, politicians, celebrities like Whitney Houston, Prince, Puff Daddy, luminary actors, and athletes like Shaquille O'Neal, even worked at Motown. His book has now also served as the basis for a teleplay for the 2017 Lifetime drama film Michael Jackson Searching for Neverland, in which actor Chad Coleman, known for his acting in The Walking Dead and The Wire, had a chance to play his role. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, today we will talk about the book since many of the Spanish-speaking fans have not had a chance to read it due to the language barrier. It's not translated yet. So we would like to let them know a little bit of what is the book about and why it's one of the most important books that is out there since or before MJ passed. So Bill, please tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
Well, I've been in personal security. I've been doing personal security for the past maybe 25 years, which I currently live in Las Vegas. And now I currently own and operate a security company where I have a team of about 100 guys. You know, we do various security details, still do personal security work. We also do events and a lot of private events. So that's what I'm pretty much doing right now in Las Vegas.
I found it interesting that you call it the art of private security. What is it that people do not understand about it?
There's a lot that goes into doing private security to protecting a high-profile individual, celebrity, VIP, and we consider it an art because it's more than just being what most people call a bodyguard. It's more than that. It's a lot that goes into protecting someone's life. For example, to protect someone like Mr. Jackson, we had to plan everywhere he went or decided to go. We had to plan these things in advance. We needed to make sure our locations are secure. The way we would get him in and out of the location was something that we had to do in a covert operation. We didn't want too many people to know how we were moving, where we were moving. So to plan these details, we had to know, where the back door exits are, with easy access, easy ingress and egress to get in and out of places. So it is an art to do executive protection. And I really don't think it's a field that everybody can do.
How difficult was for you guys to get this book published?
It was very difficult getting the book published. When we first decided to write the book, we reached out to about 36 publishers and they each turned us down. Most people want to hear about the drama, want to hear about the controversy that Michael Jackson endured throughout his life. And that wasn't what the book is about. The book is about our time with him and to represent the man that we got to know as a man, as a person, as a father. So a lot of publishers, they wanted the dirt, as far as they're concerned, that the book that we were trying to do made him appear to be normal. And to us, he was normal. So they wanted more of the controversial items, which we would offer large sums of money to just give dirt on him. But again, that's not what the book was about. That wasn't what we decided to do. So we continued to look for publishers and we caught a break, from one publisher that believed in us, or my agent, better yet, that believed in us. And thankfully, good blessing, it was published.
Yeah, it is a very different book. It's different to all the others.
Right.
Did you get a chance to have an input on the cover? If so, why did you choose that cover picture?
The cover, yeah, I personally chose that picture because to look at that picture, I want people to see Mr. Jackson, the man, the person, the father, not the king of pop. I often tell people I really didn't know the king of pop. I knew Mr. Jackson. So I wanted, that's who the book is about. The book is not about the king of pop dancing and singing, but it's about the man and the person, the father that went about his day-to-day activities of just being a father, being a person, and certainly we had some difficult times, but I just wanted to present to his fans the man behind the curtain a little bit, get a better glimpse, which I think is I feel his fans would do that.
Yeah, I was reading, doing the research for this interview, and at the very back, in the back of the book, I saw that it said Weinstein Books was the publisher, and I did a little bit of research. And do you think Harvey maybe might have had a say on if this was published or not, or
no?
He has nothing to do with this.
Not at all.
That was just a little coincidence. I was like, okay.
That was just he I believed owned the company or the publishing company, but the publishers was more involved, and my agent was more involved. And I never met Harvey. I don't even know the guy. So, all right.
Bill, you had a unique opportunity to get to know Mr. Jackson, which I love that you call him that way.
Yeah.
Very firsthand. But what were the differences between the King of Pop when you got the chance to meet the King of Pop or even in the old times, and Michael Jackson, the everyday man? What can you tell us about that?
About the difference of Mr. Jackson
and the King of Pop? Exactly.
I like to think when I first met him, when I first was introduced to him, yes, I'm thinking Michael Jackson, the King of Pop.
Yeah.
I'm starstruck like almost everybody else. Having worked with a lot of different celebrities, there's no one bigger than Michael Jackson. So when I had the opportunity to work with him, yeah, I was a little shocked and a little taken back, nervous a little bit. I'm like, this is the King of Pop. Don't get no bigger than this. So, but I had to maintain my professionalism and keep my composure. As difficult as it was, I had to just, understand that I was here to do a job. As time went on, just our general conversations, it was he wasn't performing at the time. He had just got back into the country. So it was more just spending time with his children and us being there for him on a day-to-day basis. Just if the kids wanted to go to the movies or if they wanted to go to dinner, if they wanted to go to an amusement park, we would make arrangements to take them there. Oftentimes he would go or not. He'd stay home, did a lot of reading, though he was doing some rehearsing. That's something he really didn't stop much of. He did do a lot of rehearsing, whether it was dancing or singing in the studio. He did do that at home. We heard him. I think that was one of the most amazing things, to just be 10, 20 feet away from him and hear him in another room dancing and singing. I mean, it's hard to really describe that feeling of knowing that Michael Jackson is just a few feet away from us and he's performing in a room, or sometimes by himself or with an engineer. But it took a while for us to really grasp the job that we had.
His last birthday on 2008, were you there that day? We know the stories from the fans who were outside the Palomino house, that they gave him presents and other stuff. Would you tell us the story from the inside the house? How was that day for you guys or for him?
I mean, it was almost one, he did not like to celebrate his birthday. Okay, because he was a Jehovah's Witness. But he did celebrate when it came to the children. But as for him, he certainly, accepted and respected the fans being outside the home, bringing gifts that they would leave at the front door, front gate. Some things we would give to him, There were some things that we had to inspect ourselves. We needed to be sure that any and everything that was given to him was okay. But, to us, it was really just a regular day. But for him, having the fan base, outside along the gates, in front of the home, he certainly appreciated that. He really did. And I think that's what gave him a lot of energy to do what he did or perform the way he performed. That having that fan support, especially after all of the negative situations that took place.
In general, did he give you specific instructions as to how to deal with the fans out there?
Well, I really wouldn't say specific instructions other than he expected us to be nice to his fans. But, it came with a catch-22 when he'll often say, be nice to my fans. But then sometimes he would say, I want you guys to be careful because, it was a fan that killed John Lennon. So, certainly, we had to be cautious how we dealt with a lot of fans, but we also had to understand that not everybody meant well.
On that Palomino house, I've seen pictures of it, and they look beautiful. As I said, I've never been to Vegas, but if I go, I'd like to take my picture at least at the gate one day.
Right.
But you were inside, so can you describe a little bit the house, or how was a day for Michael in that house?
He didn't. I mean, he stuck to one particular room. He wasn't one to move around much, unless you had if the kids had something going on, but not too many people came to the house. No meetings, anything like that. Anytime you had a meeting that took place outside the home, not too many people came to the house other than family, mothers, particularly his mom. But again, he stuck to his bedroom much. But doing security, what people have to understand, when you do security for celebrities such as him, you're not in his house as much. That is his home, that is his sanctuary, that is his privacy, and you allow that. Once you know he's home, then we're fine to ensure the exterior of the property is protected. So when he's home inside with his kids, his family, just like all of us, we're free to do what we want to do at home. But we didn't wander about his home as people might think we did, because that was his home. That's not something we would do in security. You give them their privacy and allow them to be who they are at home. And if there's things that they needed when they're ready to travel, then they will call upon us.
Correct. So you don't know whether he was working on music or not at that house?
At the Palomino house, he only worked not much, because there was two studios that we used here in Las Vegas. There was a studio at the Palms Hotel, and there was another studio in I believe it's called a Dragon Ridge studio that he would go to and perform, and follow up on music and do some rehearsing.
Okay, because back in the day, I saw some news of this guy. I don't know if you ever seen this guy. If you saw him at that house, let me see right there.
I don't recall.
No. Okay, this is a famous Mexican artist. He's probably, many people call him the Michael Jackson from Latin America. Okay. He's as big as Michael in the Spanish world, and as big of an artist. Like, he's amazing. Okay. And we got word that he went to that house. And that's why I kind of wanted to know whether they worked in music. That would have been amazing, but I don't think that happened. So very sad.
We don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
that he went to the house and met with Mr. Jackson.
They just know talking there and just having fun at the house, I guess, staying there. But
I don't recall that, because I specifically don't recall Mr. Jackson having personal visitors.
Oh, okay.
At home.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, that doubt is...
If he met, they may have met somewhere. They may have met outside the home, but he did not have or allow people to come to his home.
Right.
So most of the time, it was just him and the kids and Grace and the chef?
Well, the chef didn't stay there. So the chef only brought the meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Grace was there during the day, 9 to 5, to deal with whatever administrative work that he needed done. and the kids. But the kids also had a school teacher that traveled. So the kids were homeschooled. So during the day, the teacher we'd pick the teacher up and she would come in, and there was a classroom set up inside the home for the kids to do their educational structure. After business hours, it would just be him and his children.
Wow. Who did the cleaning of the house and all that?
Well, Grace certainly did a lot of helping out there. We did have a nanny that a home person did come clean the home, but they didn't come that often, because one thing I didn't realize about Mr. Jackson, he had a structure with his children. They were growing, they were becoming more responsible, so he held them accountable to make sure that they got cleaned up by themselves.
That's amazing. Right.
Well, hey, he was a father. That's one thing people have to understand, that he was a single father. Exactly. And he had to be that.
So he made dinner and all that stuff at night?
No, at night, I know a lot of times we did have a chef that brought in food, that prepared meals that he requested. But there were times that he did ask us to go out and, I know it tells that the kids ran out of cereal. And so we would go out and get some more cereal. But we have seen him prepare bowls of cereal. Now, as for cooking, I don't think he cooked. But
not even a quesadilla.
Not that I'm aware of. No, I don't think so. But he did prepare, certainly bowls of cereal for his children, small meals like that. I seen him making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich once before too.
Oh,
the easiest.
Yeah. And that was the hardest.
Yeah, that's probably the most cooking he's done.
Yeah.
From the book, we knew about Wonderland that he wanted to create. Do you think he would have made Wonderland like a second Neverland? Or will it be totally different?
I think it would have been different. It would have been different. Only because the land and the home where the house was located here in Las Vegas, it wasn't, it was big. It was a big home, a lot of property, but not as much property as Neverland had. But it was a very nice home. It was certainly, he would have created something special there. I don't think he would have had the animals and things like that due to restrictions in the state of Nevada. But he certainly would have built his studio and would have made it something special. I know, because I know it's something he really wanted.
Correct. In the book, you also talk about when you guys were boarding the plane, and MJ said, he knew about the flight plans and stuff like that. And when I reread it now, it reminded me a lot of what happened with Kobe. That tragedy happened because of the fog, supposedly. That's what I know.
Right.
Do you think MJ would have canceled it if he knew the weather wasn't good? Or, I mean, he did cancel that day because of the the engine. So,
yeah, there was a we sat on the plane. We were due to take off, but I think we sat on the plane for about almost 30-45 minutes before taking off. And he questioned what was wrong, and he asked me to ask the pilot what's the situation. So I spoke to the pilot, and the pilot said that there was a part that blew a fuse or something, and they were waiting for that part to show up so they could replace it. And Mr. Jackson wasn't too happy about that. He insisted that no, we get us another plane. He was very adamant about that. He was. Even for myself, I don't like flying on private planes at all. And for me, it's overrated. It's nothing I want to do. Small planes. But he was very adamant about, he said, Bill, my whole family is on this plane. If something happens, I lose everything. So he said, so whatever the situation is, no, I don't want them to fix no part. Tell them I want a new plane. And, we couldn't get a plane at that time, so we got one the next morning. So everything went well.
All right. You see, I was a lonely fan. I always said since before I started this show, I was a fan of MJ, and I didn't have any. Even though I know computers, I never joined any club or group or anything like that. So always wondered during that time that you were there, what would he be doing? You know, and. That's why this book is, to me at least, is very important, because it tells me, it gives me the answers to the questions that I had during that time and that I couldn't find anywhere else. I think only the fans that actually were following him around actually knew what was going on, but everybody else, no clue. So this book is, to me, is that important. That's why I care so much for it. But reading about it, I had no idea that actually that's what happened. You yourself were surprised that he was so lonely. You know, it was just him and the kids, and that's it. I always imagined he'd probably be at this great place with so many people and surrounded by an entourage. But then you come and say in the book, and I was like, what is this? Very surprised. So now with the quarantine situation that we are all living in, people feeling crazy about going outside because, you know, they've been here too long. Do you think you feel like MJ lived like in a perpetual quarantine, unable to go out anywhere?
You know, well, people have to understand that he went through two trials.
Yes.
And he went through, and both those trials consisted of charges that, for a man, you know, is very beyond embarrassing, but he was hurt by that. He was hurt to even be accused of those things. And the media was not good to him. Okay. It was not good to him at all. You know, a lot of people was very prejudgmental for who he was and how he carried and conducted himself. So unless you knew him and got to know him well enough to know, you know, what type of man he is, or the type of man he's not, you know, especially what being said in the tabloids, he shied away from being in public because of that. That hurt him. You know, even though he was acquitted and settled in one situation, that spotlight remained on him, and people used that against him. You know, people stopped talking about, or the tabloids, they stopped talking about his music or his art, and everybody concentrated on the charges he once faced, and that hurt him, and that did somewhat make him be secluded, you know. So for him to just stay, that's why when anything he tried to build a home that would have everything and anything he needed, so he didn't have to leave it. So it was difficult for him to be outside in the public, because yes, we did have a lot of fans that followed us, and a lot of which that yelled how much they loved him. But we also had some individuals that had some very negative things to say. So
did you ever have the chance to talk about those issues with him, the trials and all that?
No, that wasn't. It wasn't anything really to talk about. I mean, those was very sad moments, bad times, and I'm sure he preferred to leave those things as far behind as possible. So it wasn't anything that we would even find ourselves talking about.
Yeah.
But being around him, you know, I found myself paying attention to him, just paying attention to how he talked, how he carried and conducted himself, because I was curious. You know, when I first started working for him, you know, I've read the tabloids, I've heard the news, you know, but you get to know someone by being around him. And I was around him long enough to know, no, that's not him. Mm-hmm. You know, the person that did the depicting in the news, that's not who this man is. You know, it's not. Because if it was, it would have showed itself. And that's just not who he was.
Yeah. You've been security for other high-profile celebrities. And when you hear on the news this ugly stuff about Michael, what is it that makes it with him maybe different than with other celebrities you have worked for? What is it that it made you like care for Michael?
He was innocent. When I say innocent, he spoke softly. He cared. He really, really cared just about people. Times when we were driving around and he'll see a homeless person, he wants to stop and whether give them a few dollars or just talk to them for a little bit. He really cared about people. And he felt that this world was too rich to have homeless people, especially Las Vegas, with all these lights and glitz of the hotels and casino. And for Las Vegas to have homeless people, he was amazed by that. He didn't understand that. And he was very caring. And that was something that made it special for us to see that side of him, because that's the side you don't hear about.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that in the public, in the tabloids, in the news, just the normalcy of who he really is, as being a father and on a day-to-day basis, just being around him. And certainly we talked about, life, things in general, different artists, different music, food, women. We talked. So, it was just great to see that side of him that, but it was unfortunate that the world didn't know the side of him.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate that they didn't know that side of him.
Would you say he was an easy person to work for?
Yes. But I also tell people that we've all had a boss before that got on our nerves. And from time to time, oh yeah, he got on my nerves.
Can
but
you share something?
he just his request at certain times. If he wanted, like him and the kids may decide to watch a movie late at night, and he loved popcorn. So he would tell us, Bill, me and the kids are going to watch the movie tonight, but we want some movie theater popcorn. Okay.
Not microwave popcorn.
No microwave popcorn. No. So we would have to try to find a movie theater. And sometimes that was difficult. And there's times if we couldn't find the popcorn, he wouldn't watch the movie. And he would tell the kids that Bill couldn't find no popcorn, so we're not going to watch the movie. So
pressure.
I'm like that. For me, going to the movies is eating popcorn.
It was important to find him some movie theater popcorn.
So just for the record and to make it clear, during the time that you worked for him, did you see any type of sign of alarm with children? I mean, to unusual behavior, something that make you feel uncomfortable or not suspicious, but this is not the best.
Not at all.
This is not.
I would have never worked for him if I did, and I would have addressed it myself. Being a father myself,
of course.
Okay, having worked around kids for several years, which I still do. Had I seen anything like that, I definitely would have addressed it. And aside from not working for him, I would have addressed it, and it would have been serious. Okay, so, but that wasn't who he was. I mean,
that's what people don't understand, right?
People will never understand that because they're always going to believe and feed into what's being publicized. If we don't talk about the positive side of him, then people aren't going to know. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book, because I had to give a different side of what's being told out there. Let me give you who the real man is. This is the man, the person, the father. Let me give you who this person is. For many of us that would see a grown person spending time with a child, some people will take that in a negative light. But someone like a Michael Jackson, his time around children was feeding into the life in which he did not have as a child. So I think a lot of that was just coming back to doing things that he would have done as a child. And his day was very, very consisted of business, music, attorneys, lawyers, managers. And for him to get into a conversation with a teenager or a younger child, they're not talking about music and lawyers and money and shows. They're talking about the new Transformer movie that just came out. They're talking about the new Spider-Man just came out. Whether he's going to shoot a new video. Those are the conversations he's had with younger kids. But again, people just didn't understand that the star that he was, he did not want to be that star all the time. And having those conversations with his lawyers and attorneys and accountants was something that he did. And I think to be able to have a conversation with some younger kids and talk about things other than business is something sometimes he wanted to do.
We have all these stories about him being playful and even childish. But I think that you saw more the adult Michael, the father. Yeah. Was it like that?
Yeah, we've certainly seen him as a father, but him and his kids, they played a lot. They played a lot of games. They played a lot of jokes on each other. So we've seen that side as well, but he was also the father. He was also someone that handed down discipline and ensured that everything that they were supposed to do, that he made sure that they was on top of their responsibilities.
Okay.
So he got to balance that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Definitely a balance. Definitely a balance.
Father, I think.
Mm-hmm. There were times in which the kids wanted to do something, and if they were not behaving in school or didn't take care of certain chores, he wouldn't allow them to do certain things, whether it was to go outside to play or go to the movies. He was very firm as to making sure, no, because you didn't clean your room. So he had that balance.
He got structure for them. And
absolutely structure.
That's a really positive thing.
Yes. Yes.
Did you ever meet Wade Robson?
Never. No. That whole thing, I listened to their stories, and I don't know where or when this stuff took place, but it didn't take place on my watch.
Okay. So what's your take in all this, the scandal?
Money. About money.
That's it.
For them, to talk about what someone may have done to them when they're no longer here. But at one time he was a huge supporter. He testified, on his behalf in court. But now all of a sudden, it's a money grab now. That's all. I knew it wouldn't last.
The Casio family, were they around?
The who?
The Casios.
The Casio family? Yeah, he's very close to them. Very close.
Okay.
Yes, he stayed with them for a few months in 2007. So, yeah, he was very close to the Casio family.
We have this perception that when he was with them around 2000, he was like a little wild. So we would like to know how he was with them. Was he different?
To me, from what we was able to see, they just looked like a family that he trusted. Mm-hmm. He at the home that they stayed at in New Jersey, there was a studio there, and he did some recordings there. He did some rehearsing there. So he did, again, just looked like a family that, and Mr. Jackson was the type that if there's others that's around him and his kids on a day-to-day basis, yes, that's something special. That means he trusted them. So he did stay at their home with his children. So I just was able to observe that there were some people that he did trust.
What can you tell us about his interaction with his family, with the Jackson family? We have known a lot of stories that some drama went by, but I would like to know what's your take on that relationship with his family, other than Catherine.
Well, I looked at it like in all families. We all have situations in our own families that, we may have a disagreement with some of our siblings at one time or another. And the way I seen what took place with that family, I do know that his family cared. Okay, they did care about him. But what made it bad on the outside world, because I was inside the bubble now. Okay, so I was able to see what's really going on, a lot that's going on. And one thing I did notice is that people made it bigger than it really was with the situation between he and his family. Him and a couple of his brothers, they may have had some business disagreements at one time. And that caused a little friction. But like all families, we have our issues. A few times that they did come to the house, it was out of concern, I've noticed. And I will say this, I said this before, had he had the relationship with his family, which the media played a big part in that separation, a lot of which that was put in the news and that was said about him, it was often said, oh, that's his family doing it. But I got to understand and realize it was not his family. And had he had that close relationship with his family and that he had the opportunity to really see that they did care about him, I do think he would be here today.
So he was like isolated from them.
I wouldn't say isolated. They certainly, I wouldn't say isolated. He did speak to his family via phone calls. So his mom did visit a lot. But as for his other brothers and sisters, they did talk via phone. But these was grown adults that was leading their own lives now. And a lot of people think just because they grew up as the Jackson Five or the Jackson family, that they're this royalty family with no problems and no issues. But no, they had them just like the rest of us have. That's all.
Okay.
Catherine went to the house several times. He was a regular visitor. Catherine Jackson, the mother.
Okay. Oh, his mom. His mom was she came to visit regularly. Yes. Often. Oh, yeah. They had a great relationship.
Good to know.
Who else was a regular visit to the house?
Again, Mr. Jackson did not have many people come to the home. That was his sanctuary. That was his home. That's where his children laid. As for regular visitors, outside his mom, I can't say who was a regular visitor. If someone came maybe once or twice, like Jesse Jackson came to visit his house once before. Babyface came. Eddie Griffin came. Eddie Griffin came a couple of times. But again, not too many people would come to the house. If we had meetings or if we had to meet people, we would make arrangements for him to meet somewhere else.
Outside. Mm-hmm. In the book, you talk about these women, the famous Flower and Friend. Mm-hmm. At the moment of the book's release, the media and the fans were all about this specific topic. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Why people were so, into that specific part of the book? People was crazy about it.
Because that was a side of his personal life that he didn't share much, or people didn't know much of whether he was into women or not. So when people for us to share what we witnessed, a lot of people was like, oh, wow, he liked women. Oh, because he didn't, I really wish he was alive to give the story himself. I really do. Unfortunately, due to the situation, I felt somewhat obligated to speak on. Again, this book came from the side of what we witnessed, of what we shared. This is our story. So to share that part, it was no big deal to us, seeing him, let us make arrangements for a friend of his that's coming to visit him, and we'll set up the scene or where they're going to go hang out and where they're going to meet. We was happy and honored to be a part of that, to allow him that side of normalcy. But to speak on it, these two women, a lot of people had questions, but to us, it was just really no big deal. We talked about women. We did what men do. You get around a couple of fellas and we just talk about women. If we're driving down the street and we see a pretty woman that we often did, and he'd point her out and say, "Oh, she's beautiful. Oh, she's cute there." And, so we had those conversations. So, a lot of people had questions about that certain topic, but it was no big deal to us. It was just him hanging out with a female companion.
I remember at the time the headlines were there, even in the interviews that you gave, the subtitles, that was that topic.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Really shocking. It was really shocking for most of the people.
Okay, because no one's never really seen him with women or even talk about women, So when we seen it, we was happy to see it. We was happy to know that he had people in his life that he can spend some quality time with outside of the whole hoopla and tabloids.
That's why I was happy that you were coming in, because, I've been doing this show, as I told you. We've been doing it for 4 years, and I'm with these two beautiful ladies, but it's just me. I need a little more testosterone in here. So I'm glad you're here today. It's even now.
Gotcha.
It's even now, yeah.
Okay.
And this flower and friend, they never went to the house. It was always outside the house.
Right.
Outside. The kids didn't know them. No. It was only outside the house.
Correct.
Smart guy.
That's how we do that.
Absolutely.
Bill knows.
Keep safe. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, exactly. Your house, my house, and
that's right.
God's in everybody's house.
That's it.
And do you think that, or maybe did he ever talk about getting married again, or was it?
No, that conversation never came up. No.
It's really difficult to think of him as a married man or with a woman in his life, on all his life and around him.
I talking to people that I know are very close to him, he wanted that. Okay, he did want that life. He wanted that family life. But I don't know if he felt that anybody that he would have opened his life to like that could see themselves with him as a person.
Yeah.
Aside from being the king of pop. So, and I think that's the separation of his life that he wanted. And so we tried to do as much normalcy things as we could to bring normalcy to his life, because that is something he did want. Certainly he wanted to be a performer. He wanted to be the king of pop. But on the flip side, he did want to be a family man.
And when he tried with somebody that was close to what he was, as famous and as important, it just didn't work. For other reasons.
No, it just didn't. It just didn't, because people, the media and the tabloid is going to feed into it into more than what it is, other than something just normal.
Can you share a story about these women, or a story about that side of him with women?
He used to say that, how do you call it in the videos? When he saw the girls with
fish.
Did
he ever use that word?
He used the word fish with you guys?
What's the word?
He called them fish. There's a lot of fish out there.
He called girls fish.
A lot of fish in the sea.
Yeah.
A lot of fish in the sea. Other than again, we would always set up for him to have private moment with his female friends. So, whether it was just sometimes we would just pick them up and we'd drive, and they would just be in the back seat talking, listening to music. Sometimes they both just fell asleep while we're driving. Certainly we would pull over places and get something to eat. But we try to give that normal privacy. So we didn't involve ourselves too much in what was going on with him. Other than it was our job to set up the scene, set up the meetings, and from there, let him have his space.
So did you ever see him drive? Because we know he was a very bad driver.
No, he didn't drive, not on my watch. Though he inquired about doing so, but no, not on my watch.
Good, thank you.
You also shared there were some problems with your payments, and we can see it in the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
How long were those periods when you were not paid? And did you get all the payments at the end?
We went several months without being paid for a period of time. We know that it had nothing to do with him personally. You know, as we all have those not all of us, but those of us that have accountants and have people responsible for our finances that take care of our bills. And sometimes they can be have indiscretions and not do things that's appropriate, to do the right thing. So we know that there was some funds being misappropriated and bills not being paid. And these are things he wasn't even aware of. So we knew it had nothing to do with him directly. But there were some people out there that disagreed with the job that I did. So there were some individuals that held our pay back purposely. Because my loyalty was to Mr. Jackson. It was not to them. It was not to his managers, lawyers, accountants. But they would often inquire, where's he at? What's he doing? Who's he with? And because we would not give that information, people started to treat us in certain ways. You know, but once we made Mr. Jackson aware of it, which we really didn't like to bother him with it, because we would try to deal with it ourselves as much as we could. But it did start to affect the team. It did start to affect the energy of the team. And so when Mr. Jackson got involved, he made things happen. But at the end of the day, did we finally receive all the pay that we was due? No, we did not. Did we pursue it after Mr. Jackson passed away? No, we did not. As far as I was concerned, Mr. Jackson is no longer here. So any debt that he had between he and I is settled. Because there's no amount of money that can replace the memories, the blessing that I had to be around a man such as he. So I'll always cherish that. So there's no amount of money that could replace that. So yes, at the end, there was large sums of money that was still due to us, but we take it. We're winners. We're taking something away from this that no one can ever replace, and that was a moment of time to be with the man that we will always remember.
Mm-hmm. Is it always this kind of like? Is it always like this with all these kind of high profile celebrities or people, or do you think with him it was like more complicated with all these issues with the money and payments and all this business going around with him without knowing, or should he be more involved in his own business?
It's a good question. No, it's not like it was never like this with any other celebrity that I ever worked with. But Mr. Jackson his empire was so huge. Okay, it was so big. As much as people would often ask, oh, why wasn't he more involved? He was involved, but he couldn't be involved in everything because he was huge. I mean, he had a lot going on. He trusted a lot of people. But yes, a lot of people did take advantage of him. They took advantage of his kindness. Because he was not the type to really yell. He was not the type. He got angry now. There were times he got angry, but it wasn't often. He was very soft-spoken, but people did take advantage of his kindness. Like you and I, if someone owed us some money, we're going to go get it. We're going to go knock on their door. We're going to call them lawyers. We're going to do what we have to do. Mr. Jackson, people that owed him, he would just wave it off and he'll say Jehovah will take care of it. That was his thing.
Did you talk with the other guys and you say, okay, we're gonna stay? So you decided like in group, or was it just organic? Just happened that
it was organic. It was definitely organic. We did not have to discuss it. we were around him enough to where we realized he trusts us. Mm-hmm. He believes in us. And we're seeing what's so much going on around him, so many people taking advantage of him. And he was such a caring man. And we had no choice but to find ourselves caring about him. And I like to say we became friends. And no matter how bad things were, you don't turn your back on your friends. That was just, for us to walk away, though we was told to do that. We were told by his managers, his attorneys, they would tell us that we should just walk away. If you guys haven't been paid, you should just walk away. We never even thought about that.
Yeah, they wanted you out. They wanted
you out.
Yes, they did. And sometimes in doing personal security for a celebrity, and you're the closest person to that celebrity, people want to try to tear you away from them so they can get to them and control them the way they want to. So that is something we didn't even think of walking away from him and his kids. Just no way.
You said sometimes he was angry. Have you ever heard Michael swearing?
Oh, yeah.
There's like two bands in the fandom. The ones who swear that he never did that.
Never, ever.
The ones who believe he had to steer him out. So
when you're dealing with different lawyers and managers and accountants, when you're dealing with different people trying to pull you in every different direction and doing things behind your back, and you find out later that some people signed deals for him to perform that he did not agree to, and being forced into certain situations for him to respond. Oh yeah, he got angry, and he had some choice words. So anybody to think that I tell people all the time, Mr. Jackson was normal as everybody else. Different, very different, but just as normal as all of us. Okay. He laughed, he cried, he got pissed, just like the rest of us. So he was not a saint, so he was just a normal, bigger than life individual.
His daughter says he did swear, but other people who work with him, they say, no, he never did.
No, so they say that's because they didn't hear it. I've heard
didn't hear it.
Okay, I heard it. Matter of fact, he was so angry one time at somebody, he took my phone and threw it through a glass window. And he was so mad at somebody, he said, I should call my father and have him come kick their ass. So, yeah, he got upset. So,
you got to meet Joe Jackson, right?
Yes, I certainly did.
And what was he? What was he like?
It was an experience. The first time I met him was not good. He came to the house a few days after Mr. Jackson arrived in Las Vegas. He came to the house demanding to see him. I never met him. I did not know him. I was very cordial, respectful, but he did not return that gesture. I was somewhat treated like other individuals that probably and purposely kept him away from his son. And I felt I fell into that mold, and he probably looked at me as part of that, which I was not. I was just new to this detail. So he had a built up frustration over time with individuals keeping him away from his father, which I know his father meant well.
You felt it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was more concern. He wasn't there to put his hands in his pocket. That was his son. So I think the media or management, that's one of the first things I was told when I first started to detail from his manager company that be careful when his family comes around. And I always took that as surprising. Like, why would there be a problem with his family coming to visit him? So, but we was given instructions that his family needed an appointment to see him outside of his mom. But it was different. There was something more going on there that took place before I came on board. So I just really didn't want to involve myself with, like all families, there's issues. And I certainly didn't want to be part of whatever was going on with this family.
There were some stories about the family wanting to do a kind of like intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And was this during your time with him, or?
Yes.
And that's the reason why he didn't allow them to come to the house?
Well, I don't know the true, again, a lot took place before me.
Yeah.
So there was a time that the whole family came to the home,
mm-hmm.
and they, from what I was told, they were coming, to do an intervention with him. The situation that took place was, I believe Paris was sick and had a bad cold. So one night, late one night, we took her to a private doctor. And that word got out that Michael Jackson is visiting a doctor's office late at night.
Mm.
So some people took that more than what it was. His family took it as though he was sneaking into doctor's offices late at night and getting shot up with all kind of drugs. But what no one knew, we were taking Paris. Had nothing to do with him. But when that word got out that it looked suspicious, I think the nurse inside the doctor's office put the word out there in the news that Michael Jackson visited a doctor's office late at night, and his family got wind of it, and they took it as though, he's out there getting drugs in the middle of the night. So they staged an intervention. They all came to the house one night and requesting to see him.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wake him up and let him know, Mr. Jackson, your whole family's outside the front gate. And they said they're not leaving until they see you. So we made arrangements they didn't go into the house. They went inside the security trailer. And then he came outside the security trailer, went inside, and they spoke just his brothers. He insisted only my brothers. And they spoke for about 20 minutes. He went back in the house and they left. They came to check on his well-being. And when they realized, I believe he probably explained to them that, because they asked him, why were you going to the doctor in the middle of the night? And he explained to them that it wasn't for me, it was for Paris. So, because they know we can't just take his kids to a doctor or to the hospital, like we would go. So we had to make those private arrangements to go. So when they realized that it wasn't for him, things was cool.
And this is when, this is before Conrad Murray enters to the
that was before.
Life. And I understand that this has to do with this story because Conrad Murray went to the house too,
mm-hmm.
Because he was a doctor that can go to the house. So
right.
So
he originally came to the house to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want that to happen again. We didn't want to have to take the kids to a doctor late at night and the same thing happen again. The story gets out. So we had to find a doctor that would come to the home. And it just so happened to be Dr. Murray.
Did someone recommended him or?
Yeah. Dr. Murray was a surgeon.
A cardiologist.
A close friend of somebody that was recommended to Mr. Jackson.
It wasn't randomly.
Yeah. No, definitely wasn't random. No.
It was recommended.
Yeah.
And Bill, after he entered to Michael's life and after all that we know about the prescription drugs and all his problems with sleeping during all his life, What can you share with us about that? His problem with sleeping and being around all these people that kind of like were facilitators to him with prescription drugs and with things that he needed to take to sleep, because nobody can survive without sleeping. And he had a really, really bad problem with sleeping. What things did you see with that specific situation?
Well, one thing I noticed early on is that he walked around the house late at night, checking doors. He was up late, and I did notice he did not sleep much. He was up late. Someone did tell me he had very heavy insomnia, very difficulty to sleep. As for individuals being around, that didn't happen on my watch. It just, I've heard of these things. I've heard of people around him and giving him prescription drugs. And I'm like, I don't know how or when this is happening, because everything went through me. Mm-hmm. Okay. Every package, every phone call, every visitor went through me. I made these direct arrangements. So we traveled while we was on the road. There was no packages coming to him from any doctors or prescriptions. It was just none of that. So
he was clean.
It was definitely clean. I mean, but did he have a problem sleeping? Certainly. A lot of people do. But it was not as severe as on the drug use as people speak on, because I just did not witness that. Now, anything that took place before my watch, I can't speak to. But during my watch, no, there was none of this doctors giving him prescription drugs. And no, it was just none of that at all.
That's what they didn't want you around, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Makes sense. Huh?
It makes a lot of sense. Oh, yeah, I realized that a long time ago that, people want to have access to him to, whether if you're going to try to feed him something, you can control him.
Yeah.
So we just kept it, simple and kept certain individuals at his request, oftentimes away.
Mm-hmm. How did your contract ended? Or I understand that you were going to be part of in London, that you were going to go to London. Mm-hmm. And how did your contract ended, or what is it that you were not around on June 25?
Well, we were already behind a lot of money in our current contract. I currently had my initial contract with Mr. Jackson was 4 years, and I was only a year and a half into that contract. Mm-hmm. And once the whole London tour came up, just the thought, I was a single father at the time. So just the thought of going overseas and not have any assurances of payments and how I was going to take care of my family, that was something that we needed to negotiate or at least make sure was correct or finalized before making any of those decisions. Yeah. So we were in the middle of finalizing those things with his management team of what our pay was going to be, how we would get paid, how we would travel. So we were discussing those things. Though he requested us to be in LA with him, we needed assurances to make sure our families was going to be okay. So that going back and forth, but the decision finally came that I was going to at least go to LA at his request. But unfortunately, the situation took place.
When was the last time you saw him?
Almost 2 weeks before he passed. But I talked to him. A lot. I mean, there was things that he still needed me to do.
Yeah.
And that's one thing people don't understand. Just even I negotiated with the security team in London. I had the layout of the house. I was setting up the security for the home. I was setting up the cameras for the home. I was setting up the vehicles for the home. So those are things behind the scenes that I was doing that needed to be done. But he and I did speak often enough.
And the last time you saw him, did you notice something in his physical state that made like an alarm to you? He was really, really skinny and
he was tired.
Yeah.
He was tired. And something that he said, once said to me when the whole idea of the This Is It tour was going to come about, and they started to put everything together and they started rehearsing, he made the comment to me. He said, Bill, watch, now you're going to see all the vultures come. I really didn't know what that meant, but as time went on, I knew exactly what it meant. Everybody that was anybody wanted a piece of this show.
Yeah.
And so many people was bad mouthing the other person because just to get in, just to be a part of it. So there was some people he trusted, but he's being told don't trust them. So he was tired. He was tired of that. That was stress. That was part of the stress. And I personally feel that was part of the reasoning.
Would you say that made him paranoid or emotional, unstable?
I wouldn't say paranoid, but certainly his emotions, the stress level added to it.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone that couldn't barely sleep now, with all this bickering going on and they changing up the tour dates, and now it's going from 10 shows to 50 shows, things like that is what is starting to physically affect him mentally, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's your take on all these conspiracy theories about someone wanting him dead? Or do you take his death as an accident, or what's your take on that day?
I do think it was an accident. I don't think it was something that someone set out to purposely do.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it was an unfortunate accident.
A negligence.
But I do think that a lot of the day-to-day dealings, things that he was dealing with, contributed to it.
Yeah.
You know, whether if he's taking any kind of form of medication that is supposed to help him sleep, there are things that's keeping him up, and the level of stress is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that played a role in it too. People got to understand also, we were still receiving death threats.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't stop. That came often. You know, anytime we stayed at hotels, we would get notes left at the front desk. There'd be death threats. So we would have to leave a hotel in the middle of the night. So that was still going on. That would be very stressful.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still getting letters threatening his kids. So a lot of things that people don't understand. You know, when we call executive protection personal security and art, these are the things that we have to investigate, find out who's who.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we had to move quickly.
How do you remember that day when you got the news of his passing?
I was preparing to go to LA. I was preparing to go to LA. And I got a call. It was my mom. My mom called me and told me to turn on the news. And I turned the news on, and I turned it on just as his brother Jermaine was about to make the announcement.
The hospital.
And it was just so unreal to me.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a joke because I've been with him before, that we were driving somewhere. I think we was in Virginia. We were driving, was in a car. I'm driving. He's in the back seat. And we heard over the radio someone announcing Michael Jackson just passed away. And I said, Mr. Jackson, did you hear that? He said, what? They just said you passed away. He said, oh, I get that all the time. So when his brother made that announcement, that's when I knew it was real.
Yeah.
We heard from the trial that, you know, when Dr. Murray and everything happened, that the security called. He's the one that made the call. Alberto. I can't remember his last name.
Alvarez.
Yeah. How do you imagine things would have been on June 25 if you would have been there?
You know, I get that question, and I think about it also, I would have liked to have said that things would have been different had I been there. But then again, I have to take into consideration there was a doctor there.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been the first lead that we would have to go with what the doctor says. I like to think my reaction, I probably would have panicked for them to tell me that he's not breathing. I don't know. My first instinct would have, I don't know. I would have liked to think that I would have, if we had to get him to a hospital, we would have got him to a hospital. But it's definitely hard to say, being that Dr. Murray was there, and we probably would have followed his lead.
Doctors take precedence over everybody else.
Right.
That's logical.
Yeah.
And do you think that the sentence for him was fair?
No matter what sentence Dr. Murray would have gotten, he's going to have to live with this for the rest of his life. So whether he did 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10, 20, he still has to, he's sentenced with that for the rest of his life. He'll be known as the man or the person involved with Michael Jackson's death. So no matter what jail time he would have received, it's not going to outweigh how he'll be looked upon the rest of his life.
Guys, should we ask about the movie?
Yeah.
And some funny stories
to lighten up the mood.
Level up the mood.
To lighten the mood.
Yeah. Because we got intense.
We loved the movie because even when it was not, big budget movie, but it was done with sensibility. So it's
and the story.
Yes, we loved it.
We were nervous though.
Yeah,
we were nervous.
Me too.
Yes. We watched it together. Everyone at his home. And we were like, oh, let's see this. And we ended up crying, more affected than we thought.
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't expect that.
We didn't expect it.
The movie was big to us. The movie was something that I'm happy that they decided to do it and to kind of just bring another side again. See, certainly the book is more detailed, but the movie was originally supposed to have been 4 hours. It was supposed to have been a 2-part movie because there was just so much information that they could have put into it. They even had to cut some things out due to budget restrictions. We wish that if his estate, supported the movie, we could have really made it a lot more powerful.
Yeah. No, we were surprised about even with the budget that you guys, they had the paintings in the back, like he actually had in Neverland. And we were looking at the details in the back and we're like, that's there. That's good.
Right.
We're a difficult audience.
Yeah, they did a lot with the little they had. So we're very happy.
It's very interesting that, the movie is about Michael Jackson, but the main character is not Michael Jackson. It's Bill because everything is, through Bill's eyes. So
that's really what it was. I mean, we did get kicked back. The estate tried to stop the movie, but my legal team expressed it from a point that this is being produced from my eyes. This is what I witnessed. So yes, it's a story about Michael Jackson, but it's about what I witnessed.
Yeah, the sections on the interview when Chad was acting, it was very, very good. Did he talk to you about it? How to approach that character, or?
Oh, yeah, we talked a lot. We talked a lot. Several times he would give me a call and ask me about certain scenes. But yeah, I'm so happy of the performance that he carried out. He did a great job.
Very good.
I can share now. We are working on another book or movie because there was just so much information. I mean, even out of the book, we left out 20,000 words. So there's more that we could have gotten to detail about, and we're hoping to try to make that happen.
Oh, that would be great, and also to have it in Spanish.
It's time.
Yeah.
Yes. How does it feel to be portrayed in a movie? Like you're looking at yourself?
Sorry.
I I just feel good that we was able to put a story out there or another side of the story of Mr. Jackson. That's really my biggest point. It was never about money with me. Almost 80, maybe close to 90% of any proceeds that I received from the book, other than going to, back to the publisher, anything that came to me, that went all straight to charity. All my proceeds went to charity. They still go to charity. We still buy home hot meals, for the homeless. We purchased over close to 5,000 masks for the PPE for the nurses. We provided lunches for a lot of nurses that was working a lot of hours during the virus time, which is still going on. But our biggest thing is giving back to the homeless is something that we watched Mr. Jackson do. So that's what we continue to do now. But to see someone play me, I never really thought of that. I just think about, I'm glad that the actors in the movie played the part that really told the story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Same with the Thriller 25 that your name is in the liner notes. I think that was pretty cool situation.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, it's so weird. In those notes, he asked me, should they put Bill or William? I said Bill. He said, well, William is the name your parent gave. That's your legal name, right? Right. It is, right? That's your legal name, right? Yes, it is. Okay, so we're gonna put William. So yeah, so he won that battle.
He asked you, wanting you to say, yes, William, okay.
Oh, he asked you a question. He'll give you the answer first.
Exactly.
And he wants you to go with it. That's it. Yeah.
Well,
he's very convincing.
It doesn't get any better than Thriller, the most important album in history right now. It's just, wow. I'm impressed.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people don't know he was working on remaking that video. That was a plan. He was going to remake that video with a lot of different new effects. Now with the new technology that's out there, it was going to be something.
That's what he was working with Amir, stuff like that, maybe.
He was working with. He got back in touch with his old crew, production team from Thriller. So they were back in production. Well, just negotiating, talking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Michael Amir may have a whole bunch of footage of them just fooling around with their cameras over there.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Maybe one day he'll show it to us. See.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And Bill, what's your favorite album? I know this is kind of like a cliche question, but I want to know. Is it Thriller now?
It has to be Thriller.
There's several. Wait a minute. What's my favorite? What?
Album.
Album.
Yeah.
Oh. I can't say I have a particular album. I just have certain songs.
Okay.
I liked. Smooth Criminal is my number one.
Okay.
Your ringtone.
Yeah, it was my ringtone. That was definitely. As for albums, I don't know which album, but but I go back to Jackson 5 Days too.
Okay.
Right.
So I go way back when it was when it was a group. So
and what do you think that his music is being used now with all the recent protests and all the events against the violence and racism, and what's your opinion on his music? Like, they don't care about us being used with this protest.
It's all coming to light now. It's all coming. A lot of which the songs in which he's made, it's all playing a part in what's going on right now. And I think a lot of people, certainly listening to it more so, because he wanted his music to heal. He wanted his music to bring people together. He wanted his music to he felt his music, or music in general, was the cure.
Mm-hmm.
If there was good words to be said and things that people can listen to and feed from, That's the kind of music he wanted to put out. That you could be educated, not only laugh and dance and sing to, but you can be educated from it as well.
Do you think that he suffered from, even though he was this like larger than life figure, but do you think that he still suffered from racism, that most of or some of the things that he had to live have to do with that?
I think he was aware of things happening outside of in the world, certainly. But as for whether he was directly affected by certain racism, I know he hated certain music executives and really hated them.
Yeah.
And so, whether they was from decisions being made because of his, him being an African-American man, or because he was that figure that so many people loved, but there were so many people that hated him for that. So it was hard to say whether he directly experienced any racism, but I know that there were some decisions made because of who he was.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a fine line.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you know any stories of MJ related to Latin America? And we ask this question for our fans because they want to know that.
Do I know any stories? Offhand, I really don't know any really stories. I know Mr. Jackson spoke Spanish.
Fluently?
I don't think so.
When we were out and about and he met someone, that spoke Spanish, he would speak back fluent Spanish. So, but he spoke several different languages. People don't know. Oh. Okay, he spoke Japanese. He spoke French. He self-educated though, but no, he did speak Spanish to individuals that spoke that. He would ask, because he was quick to ask someone, where were they from? He would always ask you where you're from, especially if you had an accent. He would ask where you're from, and you tell him where you were from, and he can tell you something about that city. He was very smart. Very, very smart.
How to connect with people,
correct.
Quickly.
Yes. Because he read a lot. He read a lot.
Exactly. Those stories with Barnes and Noble that the people have shared, that he had a lot of books, and it's really sad that all those things are kind of like missing, or those who have all those books, all his stuff. Is really, really sad that there isn't a proper place where his stuff is, and a home.
I was really hoping that his estate would have purchased Neverland, and made it a visitor attraction, and put all his memorabilia there so people can see. But I don't know what's going on with that.
Do you know where his what were his more frequent reading? Books, newspapers, or
a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. Whenever we went to Barnes & Noble, he purchased anywhere from $5,000 in books. And he would just, whether it was from finances, astronomy, history, a lot of history, architecture, how things are built. So it was a lot of different, certainly newspapers from around the world.
Yeah.
He would send me to the Venetian Hotel here in town, which carried newspapers from almost quite a few countries from around the world. So he'd have me purchase those newspapers. And so he would read those a lot.
Was he into politics?
Only thing political I've ever heard him say was that he wished he could vote.
How was it that he couldn't?
Because of where we as much as we were traveling, I don't think they was doing, I don't think he would have been eligible for the absentee ballot. I'm not sure, but I think it had a lot to do with where his home residence was or was not.
Oh, I didn't know that. Do you have some funny stories that you can share with us fans?
Well, I think back. I think back to the time when we met a woman when we were driving. We were driving in Washington, D.C., and next to Georgetown University. And I was driving, was at a red light, and he looked out the window and he saw this woman walking by, and he said, "Oh, look at, she's beautiful." Just made a comment to look at that woman right there. She's beautiful. He made a positive comment, and I said, "You want to meet her?" And he kind of got shy and said, "No." So as we drove off, I paid attention to the direction that young lady was walking, and I made a U-turn. He didn't know it, but I made a U-turn, and I said, "I'm going to pull up on this woman, and I'm going to introduce him to her." And he didn't know it. So I pulled up to the woman, and I put the window, drive the passenger window side down, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "I'm sorry to bother you." And I could hear him in the back saying, Bill, no. And I said, "Excuse me. I have a young gentleman in the back seat that would like to say hello." And she just stopped and looked at me. She said, "Well, who is it?" And I said, "Just say hello." And he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did this." So he got very shy. And so he put the window down, and she's seen him, and she said, "Is that Michael Jackson?" And I said,
"Yep."
So she said, so he was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know he was going to do this." So, and he asked her name, asked her, "Did you go to school around here?" And she said she did go to the university. And he asked what was she studying. And they had a quick conversation. But I knew we had to go. I said, "Listen, how about if because I know he wasn't going to ask for her number." I said, "How about?"
He didn't know how.
I said, "Okay, if I get your number, and give you a call later?" And she's like, "Sure." So I did take the number, but I don't think they spoke again.
How was she like? How did she look like? What was his type? We want to know.
I can only go by certain women that he looked at, but he did name different women. He wanted to date Halle Berry.
I think we all did.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. What's her name? Heidi Klum.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thought she was beautiful.
Supermodel.
But that one particular day, that young lady had long curly hair. She looked like she wasn't from the States. I don't know. She was not from the States. She's had a European look to her. Mm-hmm. But long, dark, curly hair. It was winter time, so she had on a long, dark coat. So
I think maybe she could have looked like Tatiana from the Way You Make Me Feel video. Maybe, I don't know. Close to that.
Close.
He had good taste.
Oh yeah.
You know what? Yeah. We pointed out some very very attractive ladies throughout our time.
Was she like surprised or?
Oh, she was very surprised. Shocked? She didn't believe it first, so she didn't believe that was who he was. I mean, Michael
also,
Jackson.
I know that you share a story of a woman thinking that he was an impersonator, right?
Oh yeah, that was in Barnes and Noble. Yes, that was in Barnes and Noble.
She got offended.
Yeah, she cussed him out. Well, I won't say she cussed him out. She told him, "I don't appreciate you impersonating Michael Jackson. He's a lovely man, and I don't appreciate you impersonating him." And all I hear is him saying, "I am Michael Jackson. If you don't want to believe that, that's your problem." And she said, "Shame on you." Now I'm standing there, I'm doing security, and what am I supposed to do? I'm looking at her, I'm looking at him, and
you can get any crazier than this.
He was really offended. He was offended by that. He said, And how dare she? How dare she tell me I'm not who I am? And so, yes, sir.
And he was in a disguise, or
because he was disguised a little bit, but every so often, he had a veil on, but every so often he would pull the veil down, just to do whatever.
That was so funny. That's so funny.
Oh, Michael.
I know another time we took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese. It's a little, I don't know if you know that. You know what Chuck E. Cheese is?
Yeah. Big sense.
That. So kids was in Chuck E. Cheese, and we would always bring the kids in to let them just be playful, do their thing as kids and be kids, hang out. We would sneak him in later on and put him way in the back to where no one would notice him. So he would just be able to, from a distance, he can see his kids having a good time. And one time we ordered some food for the kids, and he's sitting at the table, and he did have a veil on. So every few, he was eating some pizza. He pulled the veil down, ate some pizza, put the veil back up. And we used to tell the kids, when we're out in public with your dad, try not to run up to him too much. Paris didn't care. No, she's running up to her daddy. She pulled that veil down, gave him a kiss, put the veil back on, and ran back to play. There was this little girl standing by, and she was watching all of this. I'm looking at the little girl's looking at Michael Jackson, and I'm wondering, what is she going to do? And she took a good look, and he pulled that veil down to eat his pizza, and when she realized that was Michael Jackson, that girl yelled at the top of her lungs, "Mommy, it's Michael Jackson." Everybody in here just stopped. It was like a moment in time. Everything froze. Everybody's looking around. He just got up and walked out the door real fast. I walked out the door behind him real fast. We went to the cars. He's trying to open the car door. The doors are locked. He said, "Bill, open the door." I said, "I don't have the keys." So he ran across the street. I mean, he just ran, just left. He just bounced. He just ran across the street and went inside of Staples. I had to run across the street behind him. Javon is inside with the kids, but I am speaking to him via radio. And so we just walked inside of a Staples store, and I looked back to see if anybody was following us. Thank God nobody did, because he moved so quick. It just happened so fast, and nobody followed us, and we was lucky.
Yeah.
We were lucky.
And he was fast, according to Joe.
Oh, he was fast. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had some moments. There was some good times. There were a lot of good times.
Panic at the moment, but now looking back. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also remember that story when I think that you were also in DC, or I think you were in DC, and that story with the Secret Service.
Boy, yeah, that was another moment. That was another scary moment for a little while. Yeah, we got stopped by the Secret Service driving around DC 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning with two SUVs with Nevada plates. And when they ran the plates, the registration came back to Michael Jackson Neverland Ranch. Now, who would believe this? In Washington, D.C., a couple of blocks from the White House, two dark SUVs that are registered to Michael Jackson.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even know they were registered to Michael Jackson until they told me that. And they felt it was very suspicious. And they asked me who was in the vehicles, and I had to identify who it was. They didn't believe me. So Mr. Jackson had to identify himself. And I said, "Mr. Jackson, these guys, they just want to see who you are, just to make sure everything is good." And so they shined a light back there. He didn't like that.
Yeah.
And they realized it was him. Then it came to asking would he mind giving them an autograph?
Of course.
Yeah, it was good to know that the tension subsided, because it was something nervousing. I thought that we were all going to get something. I don't know. Michael Jackson, and I thought they was going to make it a big deal, and they didn't. All they wanted was his autograph.
An autograph. So when people recognize him, it was mostly positive.
It was mostly positive, certainly. Positive. But there were times, we've been in situations to where there's fans yelling, screaming, they love you, crying, passing out. It was unreal. But there were times when someone would yell something very mean and calling out a name.
Mm-hmm.
And
there is a scene in the movie that is not in the book, but it's in the movie when a random person at the street attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if that was made for, a little bit drama, or was it?
No, that was when he was walking down the street in the movie.
Yes.
Well, no one's ever gotten that close to him to physically do something to him. No one's ever gotten that close. So, I think the movie, they just heightened that situation a little more. But no, if anybody would have gotten that close to him with me around, it would have been bad news. So, no one's ever gotten that close, but there were some people that yelled some obscenities to him.
Yeah. Okay. So did he ever give you any presents besides the
cell phone
the cell phone?
Oh, my cell phone?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he did buy me a new phone.
Yeah.
I still have that phone.
Oh.
He bought me a watch for my birthday. I just happened to have one of his jackets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have one of his jackets. When we were moving, in the midst of moving, we had to fill up we had to move out of the house in Vegas. So we used all the vehicles and packed up all his personal items in the vehicles. All the furniture and stuff went into the moving vehicles, but all his personal items and clothing, things like that, we moved in my cars, not my cars, but the SUVs we had. And I knew, that was before we got on the road to drive to Virginia. So I had to take all that stuff out of my car, or out of the car, and put in my garage or put in my closet. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I came across a wardrobe bag that had one of his jackets in it.
Wow.
And I was
pretty cool.
But that is something I'll pass on to his kids. It's nothing that I will hold on to. I'll make sure that goes to his kids and they can do whatever they want.
Cool.
Okay. When you were there, was he actively working on music? You told the story that you can hear sometimes working, but do you know if he was actively working on some new music for the future?
Every so often, he had an engineer and a choreographer come to the home, and they would work on music. Was it new music? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of new music, a lot of new dancers, dance moves. So yes, that was his art. I think that was his getaway.
Yeah.
Of the everyday drama in the world. To be in the studio. Sometimes we would hear him go in the studio 3-4 o'clock in the morning, just him, because inside the studio, we had the wood floors, we had the mirrors around, and we had a sound system that he could just turn on and start playing some of the tracks that producers were sending him. And so he would be in there by himself, just doing it. And it was hard not to get goosebumps hearing him in the other room.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
He was more a night type of person, right?
Definitely was a night person.
Yeah. And how do you, when you think of Michael Jackson, I know you think of Mr. Jackson, and I love how you call him, but what's the thing that first comes to your mind? How do you remember him when you first hear his name? How do you remember him?
I remember him as being a father.
Okay.
I remember just times when we used to take the kids out. He would ask us to take the kids to just take him out for a ride or to an amusement park or to a play yard somewhere just to get him out of the house. And we would take them in certain particular times, would be in the wintertime. And so the kids would get dressed and get in vehicles and we would go. And we'd be halfway from the house and he would call the car and ask me, Bill, does Blanket have on his gloves? And I would look back and see, no, he doesn't. He'll say, come back to the house and get his gloves. So he was that type of person. That's the person I remember just being the best father that he tried to be.
Yeah.
Raising 3 kids on his own.
And you could relate to him.
Oh, absolutely.
You were a single father.
Yeah. Yes. I was a single father myself.
Yeah.
So, but I think about, when I do think of him, I'm appreciative that I was able to give him some form of normalcy.
Yeah.
So that outside of the drama and, from driving through drive-throughs and hearing him and the kids ordering the food themselves, they would order through the box, but when we get to the window to pay for it, nobody knew who he was. Yeah. And he would say, if they only knew who was ordering this food, So it's just moments like that, the normalcy part, normalcy.
And I have a question about his voice. What was the kind of voice that he used most of the time? Because we know that high pitched voice wasn't the real voice.
But he was very soft spoken. Very soft spoken. No, he didn't talk the way he sings.
Yeah.
Okay, but he was very soft spoken. Yeah.
And did he wear makeup when he was in the house with no visitors?
No.
He was regular.
No, anytime that we were going to go out or he had a meeting, we had somewhere to be, the makeup or the hairstylist, which is the makeup artist as well, they would come in and do his hair. A session with him to do his hair, makeup was anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So he had to be perfect.
Put on a show.
We had to be perfect. His outfit had to be precise, had to be top of the line, and just he loved when he was going out in public without any coverings. He loved when he was putting on his outfit, new suit, hair's done, makeup done. He wanted to get out there and see everybody and let everybody see him. Yeah.
That's amazing.
He changed, his energy changed.
His aura.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you, that came a lot from his fan base. I watched it. I watched how his fans did not let him down. So they did not turn away from him. And that really, that was the inspiration for my book. Yeah, he knew.
He knew.
Definitely, he knew.
Exactly. And how do you think he should be remembered?
The music he brought to this world. The music he brought to this world. I know I do. I find myself listening to the words more so now. And I can hear him thinking the way a lot of the music he's made. I remember those conversations, just the way he would talk, but it was healing. It was healing music, that brought a lot of his fan base together, and certainly just brings so much together when you listen to his music.
Yeah.
It's so much meaningful to me now. So much meaningful.
In those conversations that you had with him, did he ever talk about Lisa Marie? And I asked this because we feel like in those moments when he was in his first marriage, he looked like healthy, like he had this normal life. Normal life that you talk about. So did he ever?
He never talked about her, but I was told, by someone that was with him during that time, that she really cared about him. I was told that she she kept things in line. As for the managers and things like that, she tried to make sure people didn't take advantage of him. But I was just told that she did care about him.
That's what she was left out.
Exactly.
Pushed
Right.
out
They didn't know. They didn't want her.
That's
around.
anybody that was close to him, people tried to tear him apart. They tried to get him away. They did it with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Really sad for a person to be that isolated from the ones that really care, right?
Right.
And only be around people that want a piece of you and want money and want have an agenda behind.
right. Absolutely.
Really, really sad because it's like you're living in a cage, literally.
Mm-hmm.
You're living in a cage, and no matter all the money and all the power that you have, you're alone because
Correct.
you cannot trust anyone. That's
Correct.
really sad. And I really appreciate your book because you guys wanted to portray that he was a normal human being, that he wasn't a saint, but he wasn't the devil.
Absolutely.
And that he was this father.
Yeah. He was a good dude. I tell people that. He was a good dude. He was cool. And it was hard and sad to see so many people take advantage and or try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people took his kindness for weakness.
So would you say that despite all the tragedy in his life, he didn't stop trusting people? He didn't stop caring?
No, he did stop trusting people. That's what made him paranoid. He didn't know who to trust. Because during the trials and during the accusation, so many people turned against him.
Yeah.
Okay. So many people turned against him that, a lot of people didn't want to have nothing to do with him.
Yeah, you said it well. In the funeral, everyone's crying and everyone's saying all these nice things, but they weren't around.
They weren't around. Right. They weren't around. They weren't around.
Yeah.
Like people were friends. Everybody was friends with the King of Pop.
Yeah.
Very few people were friends with Mr. Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The truth.
You think he was happy during the years that you were with him?
Yes.
Happy with the kids.
He was happy with the kids. He was more happy before This Is It.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Came into formation. Because we was traveling, we was on the road, he's with the kids, and they just spending quality time together. So,
I'm glad he had that.
Oh, I'm glad that I was a part of it.
Yeah.
To see it. So
despite not having a home,
we didn't have
a real home.
Right.
And
you got to go to Neverland, right? You got to.
I went there to pick some items up for him.
Mm-hmm.
To retrieve a few things. Yeah.
He didn't come back there?
No.
Never.
He would have never went back there.
Mm-hmm.
He felt that place was violated.
Yeah.
The way the police ransacked his home and searched it, it really messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
They really did. And he felt violated, as any of us would. If someone was to break into our homes, we would feel violated.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to be there.
No, that's where he opened up his home to certain kids, and these kids accused him of things. This is where they raided his home. So he had some bad memories there, and he would never went back there.
Do you think he should have done any different to protect himself from this kind of people?
It's hard to say. We trust people.
Mm-hmm.
If we trust someone and they do something to misuse our trust, whose fault is that? Is that our fault or their fault? Again, people took advantage of him. There was nothing really more he could have done because through all the evidence, nothing was discovered that he did anything to any children.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really nothing he could really do. It was just people's words against his words. There was no videos or no one witnessing that he did this or did that with any children. So he did nothing wrong other than open up his home and his heart.
Yeah.
That's all.
And do you think this perception that people have this negative perception will ever change? Will this will ever stop? Do you think?
If we keep talking about the positive side of Mr. Jackson, yes.
Okay.
Let's keep talking about that. That's why I want to share my book, as much as I can. See, the bad thing about my book, the national media didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was told that. I was told by somebody at ABC News. They said, "Billy, you have a wonderful book. It's a great book, but people want to know more about the controversy stuff." And I said, "What people?" His fans want to know about what's in that book. Media and tabloids, they want to hear more about the accusations that he once faced.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people it's not for you. My book is for his fans. If you're a fan and supporter of Michael Jackson, this book is for you. If you're not a fan and all you want to find out and hear about is if he did drugs and if he did anything with children, then this book is not for you. Because that's not what his true fans want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not here to appease individuals that believe he was guilty, because I believe he was not guilty of any of that stuff. And I would have witnessed it. If that's who he really was, it would have showed itself. Mm-hmm. It would have came out and I would have seen it. I've been former law enforcement officer. Through my experiences, I would have noticed and recognized anything he's done negatively when it came to children. It would have revealed itself and I would have noticed it. But I can honestly say, from my watch and what I've gotten to know about Mr. Jackson, he was not anyone that would hurt a child. Never.
When will be the second part of the book available?
We're working on it. We're working on, hopefully we can get his estate to back us up this time around. Again, it's going to take some legal mounds to get over. Hopefully, again, right now we're just working on it, and we'll see. We don't have any dates, anything, but it is a project. We are working. We're putting the words together, and if we can get the support of his estate and get the marketing and advertising, more worldwide, it will be great. So we're hoping to make something like that happen real soon.
We'll be happy to spread the word. So
thank you. That's what we need. Thank you.
And in Spanish, please consider
I believe they are working on a Spanish version now.
Yeah.
It would have probably been done by now, but that whole Leaving Neverland thing really put a damper on a lot of things Michael Jackson. Yeah. It really did. So it had, because a lot of people was believing that bullshit. I got to say it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people was believing it because if you don't know, if you weren't there, it's easy to believe that. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you have to have confidence of the individuals that were there. These two gentlemen, Wade and
James,
shame on them. Shame on them trying to...
And the families and their families.
Profit. Well, yeah, certainly the families, but it starts with them too. Shame on you for trying to profit off of him and after he passed away. Mm-hmm. And to hear how they described what happened, I said, shame on you, gentlemen. Mm-hmm. I know I better not never see him. All right, but shame on you. And I think that's one of the reasons why it just kind of faded away, because their stories started to not add up. Mm-hmm. It started not make sense. Mm-hmm. Some man supposedly doing something to you for 8 years and nobody knows. Come on. One thing Michael Jackson always had around him was people. It was always people, always someone, whether security, nannies, chefs, house cleaners. There was always people around. Yeah. And there's no way anyone would have allowed Mr. Jackson to be alone with any children without others being in the area. Mm-hmm. Never.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we do this podcast is to kind of leave a historical precedence on the real Michael Jackson, and we think your book does that as well. And that's one of the reasons we wanted you to be here. For the people who do not know, where can they get your book?
Right now I do have a certain number of books that I do sell on my website. Everybody can go to my website, rememberthetimebook.com. That's rememberthetimebook.com. You go to my website. I personally sign and ship each copy.
Okay.
I ship that throughout the world, everywhere. As far as from all the way to, I've sent books to Iran. I've sent books to Bahrain. I send books to the Philippines. So I send wherever. You go to my site, pay for shipping, and I do ship each book, sign it to the individual who purchased the book, and leave a little note thanking for their support. And all proceeds do go to charity organizations that I currently be a part of now. So, but right now you can get the book at rememberthetimebook.com, and
you came up with the title because that's my favorite song and video.
I tell you, we originally had another title, and you talk about Mr. Jackson being taken advantage of. We had someone that originally was going to help us publish the book, and there's this woman. I don't want to say her name due to legal reasons. The name of the book was going to be Defending the King, which I'm glad we did not go with that title.
Okay.
I think it was a blessing we did.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we know who you're talking
we know.
about. She really took advantage of us.
Mm.
We was supposed to be writing the book together.
Yeah.
They were supposed. They said that they were a writer, and so we would send few scripts, a few sheets about our stories, our experiences, and they were supposed to kind of, make it reader friendly, check the spelling, grammar. Mm-hmm. But instead, they took the information we gave them and went and wrote the book.
Yeah.
Without us. So we had to go through some legal stuff and deal with that. And it's a shame that, we are going through the same thing he went through.
Right.
But that's okay. We're going to prevail beyond this. And we did. So Remember the Time was a title I came up with because that's just what we're doing.
Yeah.
In our book, we are remembering the time with him. So just want to continue furthering his legacy.
Yeah.
It's important. It's very important to do.
Yes.
We just wish the national media was more involved and accepted our book a little more and get it out there. So, but I hold it up to the fans such as yourself and platforms like this to spread it. Mm-hmm. I'm personally going to push it to ensure that we do have a Spanish version written.
Please.
We owe that. That is something we had started to do, and I will continue that, and I'm going to make sure that happens.
There's a big audience.
For us, it's very, very important to have you here with us because as a Spanish, community, we never get things firsthand. Mm-hmm. It's always through other people, through translations, and a lot of things get lost in translation. Yeah. So to have you here with us firsthand, it's really, really important. We never get that, so we appreciate it very much.
We appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you so
much.
Where
can people contact you for in case they want to talk about this book or anything else?
Yeah, it's best to you can certainly reach me at info at Remember the Time Book, and you can also reach me at Bill at rememberthetimebook.com. Those are both my emails. Those come directly to me. I'm busy a lot. I am operating a security company, working with the NFL and the NBA, doing security. I still work with different high-profile celebrities.
Oh, you work with Prince. We said that at the beginning. Yeah. Can you share a little bit? Was it completely different with Michael?
Very different.
He's a fan.
Very, very different.
I'm a fan.
Very, very different, and very quiet. He's just a quiet guy. him and Michael Jackson had a lot in common. What a lot of people don't realize. They had a lot in common. They were both Jehovah's Witnesses, both going through drama with their record labels. Even though they've been in the both same vicinity a few times, they've never really met. Okay, they never had a reach out, handshake, sit down conversation. If they did, if those two ever had gotten together, they would own the music world. They would own it. You know, but unfortunately, managers made it seem like they would tell Michael Jackson, hey, Prince said he's better than you. And people would tell Prince, hey, Michael Jackson said he's better than you. You tell two grown men that another man say he's better than you, you know what that man gonna say? Fuck him. So, bottom line, that's just how it was. And it's unfortunate that that's how it was, but they were two geniuses. And do I think they're making music together right now? Yes, I do.
Did they mention the other or talk about the other? No,
they didn't. They didn't. We took Michael Jackson to see Prince one night at a show here in Las Vegas, and Prince performed, and but we didn't go see him after.
Yeah, I think they admire each other musically.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Definitely admired each other. And I just wish that they could have gotten together.
Yeah, just as pals, you know. Because they were really not rivals, as people want to make it.
No, not at all. Not at all. It would have been amazing.
All right.
So Prince, as a person, was more quiet than Michael.
Definitely more quiet.
How interesting, because, you know, as an artist, he's more like wilder. Oh,
of course. Very outspoken. I mean, again, I tell people, Mr. Jackson off stage is somebody different.
Yeah.
He's not the king of pop off stage.
All right. Well, Bill, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. We really had a great time with you today. We appreciate the work you have done in presenting us with the real Michael Jackson through your book and interviews now. If you want to know more about the real Michael Jackson and not the one presented in the mass media and tabloids for years, we urge you guys to grab this book where you can see the normal human side of Michael, where you understand his view of the world from that unique point of view that only the most famous entertainment in history could have. It is a very uncommon place to be, and the only way you will know it is from Michael Jackson and this book, Remember the Time, Protecting Michael Jackson in His Final Days. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, everybody take care.
Yeah, please let us know when the book is ready. Here you have a place to spread the word. We really appreciate it.
If you need any help with the Spanish translation, let me know.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to help.
You know what? I'm going to get on. After I get off with you, I'm going to reach out to my agent. And I want to see how fast we can make this happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let us know.
I certainly will.
We'll post this on YouTube as originally as this. And also, I will translate you with your voice. I'm not going to do probably the Chad voice or as good as the job as he did, but I'll try my best to make you sound the way you actually sound.
The voiceover.
But the voiceover. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, Bill. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much.
You
take
too.
care,
Be safe.
Please.
All right. Take care.
Bye, thank you.
Y bueno, amigos, pues este es el episodio que les tenemos preparado para el día de hoy, el número 61 en total. Esperemos que les haya gustado esta entrevista con Bill Whitfield y que la hayan disfrutado tanto igual que nosotros. Ya saben que nos pueden encontrar en nuestras redes sociales. Estamos en Facebook, Instagram, Twitter y YouTube como MJ Radio Net para que se mantengan en comunicación con nosotros. Pueden encontrarnos también, si es la primera vez que nos escuchas, en cualquier aplicación para podcast como MJ Radio Net y mándanos un correo electrónico a conectate@mjradionet para cualquier pregunta o sugerencia. En esta ocasión vamos a mandarle saludos a Luisa Rivas, que cumplió años el 23 de junio este mes. Esta semana anda de cumpleaños. Esperamos que le guste este regalo de podcast, igual a ella y a todos los demás que cumplan años esta semana. También aprovecho para agradecer a la gente que hizo posible este episodio: Sandra de la Vega en el arte y la website, a Ale por la traducción, transcripción y el blog del show, y a Marisa Ramírez Blues Away que también estuvo ayudándonos con la traducción. En la voz estuve yo y la producción, edición del show. Muchas gracias, nosotros fuimos MJ Radio, MJ Radio. Hasta la próxima.